Hello and welcome to day 3 of Vlogmas, Vlogmas. And today I'm going to be doing my November wrap up. November was a wonderful, wonderful month of reading. I had an amazing month of reading. In fact, I should tell you now, I had one. I'm pretty stinged with my 5 stars as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-star books. Hello, 6. That's amazing. We'll start with a book that I gave 1 star, and that was a book I read on my Kindle, which is here. That is a book called Revenge of the Tide by Elizabeth Haynes. We read this for a book club at work, and I really didn't like it. So it was about a woman who had moved down to Medway, which is the River Medway, which is sort of near where I live, on a longboat, and then you sort of hear about her backstory as she used to work as a stripper in London, and then she got sort of like tied up in doing like private parties where a little bit more than stripping was needed, but then it was just full of loose ends and like not very feministic at all, and I thought it was really like problematic in terms of like assault. So there was a section where she was stripping for somebody and they got a bit handsy on her, and she said something like, oh well, nothing a warm shower won't wash off. And I was like, it felt like it was really like demeaning, like being sexually assaulted and sex workers and stuff. Like, yeah, I just didn't like it, and I thought it was a relationship and it was all just a bit daft, and I'm glad it was over, really. Don't bother wasting your time. Other people in book club quite liked it. I did like that it was set like near where I live. Like when you're reading a book and it's set near where you live, you're like, oh, I know that place, or oh, I know that place. So that's always a bit exciting, but wasn't exciting enough for me to give it more than 1 star. I would have given it less than 1 star if I had been allowed. The next book, however, was a 5-star book and is in contention for some of the 10 best books of this year. So that book was, and this is a proof copy, it's Shelter by Jung. This book had me experiencing so many feelings and had me thinking about it for such a long time afterwards. I was like, oh, like it really, really took me. There's so much character development and so much plot in here. It's just amazing. So it tells the story of Kyung, who owns a house that he can't afford. Literally, that's what the first line says. And he has the realtor come around to have a look at it. So while they're looking around the house, a naked woman turns up a naked older woman turns up in the garden, and turns out it's Kyung's mum. Now, Kyung's mum and dad are very wealthy, and they live in a big house up the hill on like this, like where wealthy people live, and she turned up naked and like what looks like she's been attacked. You then find out what's happened to Kyung's mother and father, and it's just about relationships, and it's just, there's a bit in there so where Kyung's mother, after being found in the garden, is taken to hospital, and Kyung goes to pick his dad up. Like him and his dad go to no, they get discharged from hospital. Sorry, they're on the way home from hospital, and Kyung and his father go to Walmart to buy his father some stuff because the house is now a crime scene. So they're going to Walmart and they're looking around for things, and Kyung's dad's just sort of like putting things in a trolley, and Kyung knows that. And then when they get to the checkout, Kyung's father doesn't have his wallet with him. He's like, everything's in the house, and Kyung knows that like these credit cards, they might not work. He's so like, he's having a really bad money time, and it just felt so awkward. And I was like really willing it that the credit card would go through. It was just amazing. There's so much action in here, but it's done in like a perfect literary fiction way, and I just can't wait to see what else Jung has up her sleeve. I think she's going to be amazing, and I loved this, and I really would urge lots and lots of people to read it. It's up there. It's so thrilling and enthralling and literary at the same time. I bloody loved it. 5 stars, well done. The next book was also a 5-star. It was a reread. So I took part in the Rereadathon earlier this month. I will link my wrap up from that so you can see my full thoughts on this. But I did reread The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers during that time. I read this last year and gave it 4 stars. I read it this year, gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. So much world building, so much different like character backstory. Wonderful. Can't wait to read the sequel. So as I said, I'll link the video down below. Similarly, I listened to, not similarly. I also listened to 2 audiobooks this month. The first one I listened to was Night Waking by Sarah Moss. Following both of Sarah Moss's books being a 5-star for me, Tidal Zone, which I loved, like that's up there with best books I've read this year as well. And Strangers in Iceland. This, I had like really high hopes for this. It didn't hit the highest of hopes for me. I really enjoyed it. It was really atmospheric and creepy in some places, especially for an audiobook. Like, I've never been creeped out by an audiobook before. And there were some points where I couldn't listen to it falling asleep because I was frightened. It wasn't a particularly scary book, but the tension was built so well that I almost scared myself, basically. I'm going to be looking at the other 2 books in this loose trilogy. So it's set about a family that's moved to an island in north, like the Outer Hebrides, and they find a baby's body in their garden, and it's like they're trying to work out when it's from, and the police are involved and things like that. And you're reading back letters from a time when people used to live. There was more people living on the island, and you're hearing it from, I think she's a nursery maid, the letters they're listening to. And the other 2 books in this loose trilogy are from that time. So these the letters in the book were probably like my least favourite bits, so I don't know how I'm going to get on with the other 2 books, but I will be interested to try it. Sarah Moss, The Tidal Zone and Strangers in Iceland, absolutely adored them and really enjoyed this. I put here 4 stars, but thinking about it, I would probably give it 3 stars now. Because I don't feel like it stayed with me enough for it to be a 4-star. The next book I read was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. As I said, I talked about this in my wrap-up from the Rereadathon. I enjoyed this much more the second time round. I feel like I understood a lot more of what was going on and followed it a bit better. I gave it 3 stars this time. I really like the black and white theme running throughout. I think it's like a good book. It's just not like my favourite book ever, and I enjoyed the story, and it was quite cosy. I read it when I was in Centre Parks on holiday with David, and it was very cosy and enjoyable. So yeah, I gave that 3 stars. The next book I read, I hosted the Cosy reading night earlier this year. I keep saying earlier this month, and I will link both my TBR and my wrap up from that. I read this little book, Eric, by Sean Tan. I gave it 5 stars. I talk about it much more in the wrap up, so I'll link that there. I also finished not during the Cosy reading night, Autumn by Ali Smith. This was 5 stars. My first ever Ali Smith. Loved it. Loved the cover. Was really into the cover. A few people had said to me how different this was to other Ali Smith stuff, so I'm looking forward to seeing what other Ali Smith stuff I got. I like it when I have a little ponytail because I can like do this. I love the style. It's the right amount of different sort of writing style for me to be able to get into it. It told a story on the run up to Brexit from a old chap's point of view, Daniel, who is about 100, and then a girl who's maybe 2 years older than me, so she's like mid-30s. I'm only 30 now. 32. Her name's Elizabeth, and you hear from like both their points of view and things. I laughed out loud. I felt sad. It made me remember how I felt around Brexit, and sort of like, I feel like maybe I'd pushed a bit like Brexit to the back of my mind, and it sort of brought it back forward, and it was like, this is still happening, Lauren. So I appreciated it for that. I really enjoyed it, and I looked forward to getting back to it when I was away from it. So I really would recommend it. I very much enjoyed it, and there are maybe a few people I'm buying that for Christmas this year. The next book I read was one that I started on my Cosy reading night, and this I gave 5 stars. This is fabulous. This is like definitely one of the best books I've read this year. God, I keep saying that, but this is honestly The 100 Nights of a Hero by Isabel Greenberg. I previously read the Encyclopedia of Early Earth last year, first ever graphic novel, and loved it. This I loved even more. So if I love that, then this I loved. I love the art style. I adore Isabel Greenberg's art style, the palette, the art, the writing, the storyline, the characters, the language used, just all of it. This is perfect for me. It is absolutely perfect, and I adored it, and I will revisit it. I really, really loved it. Even the end papers, just everything. Perfection. The next book I listened to was an audiobook, and that was Scrappy Little Nobody by Anna Kendrick. This is Anna Kendrick's autobiography. I did enjoy this. I gave it 3 stars. It was fun and light listening. I hadn't really known much about Anna Kendrick apart from like Dinner in Pitch Perfect and things like that. I didn't know her stage background. I liked the stories and found it fun, and particularly liked that it was read by the author. Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. It wasn't like the best thing I've listened to or anything, but I enjoyed it, and it did its job. Now, the next book, if you've seen my favourites video already, you will know that this is Speechless. I read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier this month, and it is the best book I've read in my entire life. This is my new favourite book. I adored this. It was so atmospheric, so the scenery in this, the description, the characters, I actually felt like I was there. The plot, the moodiness, the sensualness, there's like really sexy bits in it, like the whole thing blew my mind. I absolutely loved it. And I said this in my favourites video and I'll repeat it now. This isn't my first ever Daphne du Maurier. I have also read this year. I hadn't read any Daphne du Maurier until this year. I'd also read Frenchman's Creek and Jamaica Inn, both of which I loved and gave 5 stars. So when I came to this, I was like, oh, I hope Rebecca's not my favourite, because Rebecca is everybody's favourite. There is no way this can not be my favourite Daphne du Maurier book, or just like book ever. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. I'm urging people to read it. Please, if you haven't read it, please read it. I loved it. If I could give this 100 million billion trillion stars, then I would. I just loved it. It was amazing. So those are the books that I read in November. Amazing month. So many 5-star things. So much good shit. Absolutely had a wonderful time with all these lovely reading things. What have you guys been reading in November? Have you guys read any of these? Who loves Rebecca? Who's Daphne? If you're a Daphne du Maurier fan and your favourite isn't Rebecca, then what is it and why? And I must try that next. I've got a few more Daphne du Mauriers that I'm going to be reading. Like, I'm going to try and read one a month next year to spread it, because obviously there's only a limited supply. She won't be writing any more. I absolutely loved it, Rebecca, though, and I really had a great reading month. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you all again soon for another BookTube Vlogmas video. Bye! Here I am on my stool. I'm doing a little film. Here I am talking about books. Books are over here. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Let's have a look at this.